The divisional previews are brought to you by Chinook Seedery, the best seeds ever. Use our promo code CoachesSonsPod at checkout to get 10% off. On to the show.
Hit it.
Welcome to the Coach's Sons podcast. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the division preview series. We are going to talk about the NL Central. Now, Chris, this division to me is very interesting because I know very little about the division, to be honest with you, for whatever reason. And it's that way for the AL too. For some reason, I'm very invested. We know why I'm invested in the East, on the NL side, but the West, same thing. Maybe it's my ties to Boston, how much I love the Red Sox, who knows? But the West, because of the Dodgers, and then because of your Mariners, right?
Sure.
So the Central seems to be my blinder spot for both sides. So full disclosure there. So what are your thoughts on the Central? And we'll jump into the previews after that.
Well, if I remember correctly, I believe we had last year, at least I said, I think this is going to be the closest division race of all of them. And it was not. It was the least close division race of any, actually. The Brewers ran away with it. They won by 10 games. And I don't even think we had the Brewers. I think we picked the Cubs, maybe. I forget exactly what we did or who we picked. But it wasn't particularly close. Brewers ran away with it. And I don't know if anybody predicted it in that manner either, though. So I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but I don't necessarily disagree with you where it's like it feels like that part of the, the baseball world almost gets shut off a little.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the Cubs. The Cubs are huge, but the Cardinals are kind of slowed down a little bit.
Too, though.
Now I think it's going to ramp up more though because you've got the Pirates. And Paul Skeens, new face. If Jared Jones keeps it up, they're a force again as far as pitching is concerned. There's a lot to be desired in Pittsburgh as well. But there are some good teams. I want to make the argument that it's going to be close, but I was wrong, and I got right. So I quite frankly I don't know how it's going to end up. I if I have to pick a winner, I want to pick the Cubs, but I feel like I can't not pick the Brewers right now.
Yeah.
And because I don't think they really lost a ton. I'm double checking here really quick. I take that back. They lost Adames. They lost Evan Williams.
Yep.
I'm torn.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Cubs, they just don't do what they need to do. They just screw something up every time.
I mean, yeah. And look, the Cubs got one of the biggest pickups in the offseason with Kyle Tucker. He's a better version of Bellinger. Sorry.
Way better.
I think the Cubs are the team to beat. I shouldn't feel that way. It should be the Brewers 100%. But I do think the Cubs are the team to beat in this division. I think it's going to be a 2-horse race instead of the Brewers running away with it.
Okay.
Whereas last year, I didn't have any clue whatsoever. But I do think the Cubs are going to be the team that is going to be at the top. The Cardinals didn't do much for me when it came to getting better. They continue to age. But the Cardinals are a team that consistently figures it out, I guess. Although last year
people are not happy with them.
Yeah, they did not figure it out. So I don't think the Cardinals are going to be a threat like they have been in the past. I don't know how to pick a bottom dweller in this division. I think it's the Pirates, unfortunately, but they have arguably the best arm in baseball now. And if their number 2 continues to be good, then that's great. Like Jones, right? That team's that's a good punch, but who hits the ball over there?
I mean, Brian Reynolds is solid. O'Neal Cruz could be good.
Yeah. Oh, and so Cruz, he's electric at times, but they just don't have consistency in that lineup whatsoever. I think
they added Tommy Pham.
Oh, okay. I thought you were serious for a second.
They got Spencer Horowitz, who's going to miss a little bit of time. He's Blue Jays guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't have a ton of offensive firepower. I don't disagree with that one bit. They did bring back Adam Frazier, but he's a shell of himself from All-Star Adam Frazier. I don't
It's them or the Cardinals, right? Because, I mean, the Reds.
Yeah, you know what?
The Reds
Screw
don't.
it. I'm putting the Cardinals at the bottom.
Okay, that's fair. I flip flop back and forth between those two, but I think it's the Pirates. You say Reds. We'll see what everyone
No.
else. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
You
said
say Cardinals.
Cardinals.
You're right. You're
I
right.
want it to be the
You said
Cardinals.
Cardinals. I say Pirates. We both agree. I say Cubs. You say
I'm going to go with the Brewers for now.
Okay.
But
so we're both split. This is great.
I haven't been convinced yet to change my selection.
Okay.
As far as the winner and bottom dweller.
Yes.
I think there's possibility that I can be with a strong case from some of these submissions.
I think I'm going to be swayed if I'm being quite
I
honest.
think it's easy for me to do that in this regard, right? So if the Cubs come on strong, you're like, you know what, I'm going to believe with them. Or if the Brewers are like, yo, listen, like
we're legit.
We have a I think the Brewers are going to stay with my number one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Remains to be seen. And Dan's going to make a strong case for the Reds.
Let's go.
No matter how good, bad, or ugly they were last year.
I can't wait to hear this. I think this episode is going to be fun because we don't have opinions that are
I'm
very
ready.
strong. The one opinion I think we both agree on is the premier player in this division, and that's going to be Skeens. And if Skeens is healthy, I think he's a Cy Young winner.
I think there's a lot more star power at the top. The entire division isn't, it doesn't stack up. These lineups don't go 5, 6, 7 deep like some of the others.
Yeah.
But we say Skeens. Yes, Skeens is the guy, potential face of baseball. But you got Ellie De La Cruz, also a potential face of baseball.
That's true.
And
okay.
The other, I'm going to keep naming potential faces of baseball, but Jackson Trio is a star in the making.
Yeah.
Right. So those are and Kyle Tucker.
Yep.
And he's, as far as face of something, he's probably fourth, right? Like of notoriety and how he's Jackson. I'm just saying, like, how the media attaches to the other guys. Right? Skeens is a fan favorite. Ellie's a fan favorite. Chirio's a fan favorite, at least in the Milwaukee sector, as he should be. And like Kyle Tucker has the chance, especially with the Cubs, to gain that more. He got away from the Astros, I guess, but he was always like, while he's always been a very, very good player, and I've always liked Kyle Tucker for his play, he's fallen behind the Altuves, the Bregmans, the Yordan
he's
Alvarez's.
quiet. He's the quiet killer over there.
Yeah. So he has a chance to raise up, but from there, right, there's your four guys, and I know it's not runaway, but then it's like, okay, well, now what?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right, Nolan Arenado, he's not going to be a Cardinal at some point.
Yep.
But the Cubs don't have a ton of other guys. The Reds have some guys, but no star potential. So that's O'Neal Cruz has the ability to break out, but I don't think he will.
I'm with you. I mean, the Cubs got some other guys. Like Imanaga showed flashes. I'm always going to love Dansby, but I don't think he's ever going to be elevated to like superstar level.
Correct.
So I mean, there's definitely pieces, but I agree with you that there's a big cliff after that.
Yes.
So, all right, well, let's jump into it. Let's see what kind of influence our preview folks can give over us. So let's start with Chris's current number one pick, the Brewers. Chris, who do we have?
We got the Milwaukee Brewers. So we've got Ryan. His @ is Brew Pack 8. Can you tell he's from Milwaukee area? Brew BREW Pack PACK, the number 8, and he's also part of the Pack the Brew pod. So @ Pack the Brew. Let's see what he's got.
Hit it.
Brewers are yet again looking to replace key losses. Last year was Burns, now Devin Williams is a Yankee, and Willie Adames is a Giant. Brewer fans aren't worried about replacing the closer. If it's Trevor Miguel, Craig Yoho, whose changeup might be even better than Williams. Seriously, learn the name if you haven't already. Or one of the other many great arms they have in the bullpen. Willie's replacement in the lineup will be Oliver Dunn and Caleb Durbin. The majority of Brewer fans aren't too fond of Dunn, but I'll tell you that I personally am a believer. Durbin came over in the Williams trade. The rotation on paper may not blow anyone away, which is how it's been year after year, but as they do in every year, they should exceed the expectations and turn out to be a solid rotation that we can trust to win games. Offensively, they're still younger. Chirrio is still the expected savior in Milwaukee. Frelick added 25 pounds of muscle in the offseason. Not sure how true that one is, but that's what's being reported. Mitchell is finally healthy. Terrain just won the Platinum Glove. Ortiz is sliding into the shortstop role, and William Contreras is the best catcher in baseball. The Cubs may be the favorite in the Central, but we're used to being the underdog. That's how we like it. Bet on a third straight division title in Milwaukee.
Hit it.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan. That's the Brewers. I'm falling in line with him here. I think
Interesting.
He makes sense. We've talked about it on our normal episodes of the pod where the Brewers are one of those teams where when they add a pitcher or they take a chance on a guy, you're like, oh, okay, your ears perk up.
Pay attention.
I.e. Jose Quintana, i.e. they got Nestor Cortez back from the Yankees in their deal. So I think there's something to be said about what they're able to do pitching wise. Now, that is a little bit tougher. It's a little bit tougher to stand up for them as far as the hitting's concerned.
Correct.
Losing Adames is a big deal.
Big deal.
Now, he did speak to, so again, I wasn't aware of all these guys that they had at the ready, but losing Devin Williams is apparently not a big of a deal as everybody thinks. Who'd he give us?
I
Yoho?
find that hard to believe. But
I know,
okay.
but you could find a decent outing or a decent season out of a reliever. Miguel has done it. This is the other guy that's not on the Mets, of course.
Right.
I would assume they're brothers, but what the hell do I know? And this Yoho guy, but I do know Brewers. It's probably him that I'm seeing it on the feed from, but they're just talking about that guy. So I think he's, they're not, over the hill, but it's like, hey, we could find somebody to replace Williams a little bit.
Yeah.
But Adames is going to be hard to replace. It seems like they don't really have a straight up replacement there. But a lot of their other guys are starting to improve. You got Chiriot, second full season. He's going to be ready to go. William Contreras, who you should know, right? He was on the Braves.
Yep.
Right. So one of the best catchers in baseball, if not the best.
Arguably the best. I agree.
So very good. Right in the heart of the order. Christian Yelich, if you get decent production on him, he'll be fine. Terang's a speedster at second base. Garrett Mitchell is supposedly healthy. We said we're going to look at this optimistically. So Garrett Mitchell's healthy. They're going to be in good shape there. Frelick, is fine. He's a decent option. Rhys Hoskins still there. So another piece of power on the older side. So him and Yelich are like a big piece, even though you don't want them to be. Right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we're really relying on you guys. So we're going to need old Yelich to come back. We're going to need 30 homers from Hoskins, and maybe they can figure it out. But as we've said a bunch, it's their pitching. Freddie Peralta, who's been as solid as they come, is an ace on most teams in the league, including his own. So pretty content in saying he's going to get the ball opening day, and he's going to do his thing. Aaron Savale, again, one of those middle of the road. He's your number 3 starter. You're in decent shape, but he's on the Brewers, so he could be better. Nestor Cortez, Tobias Myers had a really good season. He's only 26. I think. Brandon Woodruff is making his way back. His shoulder. I almost traded for him in a fantasy league, so I reached out to our boy Chris Clegg.
Gotcha.
About it. And by the way, not only does Chris Clegg do prospects, he does all full-fledged dynasty stuff. So I reached out to him. I was like, what do you think? He's like, I do like Woodruff, but you're asking him to come back from a shoulder surgery that isn't, most people don't come back very well from. They come back, but not at 100%.
This isn't Tommy John. Yeah.
So if he does come back close to himself, then watch out even more. But I think he'll be able to provide valuable innings at some point this season for them. I'm still high on them. I can see why you can be off put by them.
Yes.
I think that's a very easy way to look at it, but I'm fine with them for now, but we've got 4 other things to listen to.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of Kool-Aid drinking happening right now over there. We can definitely replace one of the best closers in the game. That's a tough sell for me. Closer is such a vital role, and you can't just plug and play. Those guys have to be elite. So not sure there. Pitching, obviously, Peralta's great, but if Woodruff doesn't come back, you guys are gonna suffer. And I
They
say
didn't
you
have
guys
him last year.
I know, but I'm just saying they need that extra bit to take that next step, and I just don't think the Brewers replaced where they lost, right? And so, how do you replace Adames, all that kind of stuff? Chiriot looks legit for sure, so there's definitely some bright spots there, but I don't think I got enough back to feel like I want to change my position on where I think the Brewers are going to finish. So, but I love the optimism. Third straight. Did you say third straight division So
Yeah.
I guess I got to stop betting against the Brewers at some
That's
point.
my point.
Yeah, that's
you
fair.
don't. They're unassuming. You think they're you're gonna say, oh, they're just fine. They're a decent team. They'll be in the mix. And does everybody know they're not only in the mix, they're winning the division every year
and running away with it last year
on the laurels of like, hey, they're okay. Now they don't have Corbin Burns anymore.
Right.
They don't have Adames anymore, but they still have enough to make noise and do what they need to do. I think they're going to be fine.
Okay, well, we will see. So let's move on to the next team. It's the St. Louis Cardinals.
St. Louis Cardinals is coming from Darren and I quote unquote Doc Eisenhauer. You'll see his name show up as Doc's Dynasty Stash. His @ is Doc Holiday Dyna, like the beginning part of Dynasty. He's not self-proclaimed, but he is a writer / cigar smoker
Nice.
for Scout the Stat Line, which is a site. He is the all but commissioner of that 30-team Super Dynasty League that I'm in.
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
So he's like the commissioner of it, works through Scout the Stat Line, but he's got the Cardinals submission for us, so love to hear what he's got to say.
Hey, Doc Eisenhauer here to talk some St. Louis Cardinals. Now, I'm not necessarily a diehard fan of the team, but I am located in Indiana, which is just in the middle of all these Midwestern places, and I follow them fairly closely. I'm pretty excited for their future. Their present is a little strange. It could just go in so many directions, starting with Nolan Arenado. Will he stay or will he go? If he stays, all of a sudden this team is kind of playoff-y, maybe. It sounds crazy to say, but you look at some of their batters, like if you have an Arenado, if you have Alec Burleson continuing to evolve as a pure hitter, if you have any number of the guys like Mason Wynn, J.J. Weatherholt coming up, Jordan Walker, or Victor Scott, or Thomas Sagasi, or Nolan Gorman, any of these guys just taking a step forward. That just is such an asset to the team. Never mind the boring Brendan Donovan kind of, or Lars Nootbaar, please stay healthy kind of thing, right? If Lars Nootbaar stays healthy, the metrics love him. He's a great competitor. Then you got, haven't even mentioned Wilson Contreras yet. It's like him moving over to first base. He's focusing exclusively on hitting now. Catching is a very mentally draining kind of part of the game. You have to call games and go over a complete pitching game plan. Just playing first base or DH, you're just swinging a bat. And then Ivan Herrera coming in there. He's probably going to split catching duties with Pedro Pajes, who is boring offensively but better defensively, whereas Herrera is very exciting offensively. We'll see what happens. They got a cool catcher no one's really talking about just yet, but Jimmy Crooks, no batting gloves, just like Tommy Sagasi. Cardinals love their grinders, but Jimmy Crooks is a catcher prospect to look out for. The rotation is weird. It's probably their weak spot right now. You got Sonny Gray, who's solid. Bunch of old guys, bunch of old vets. And then Quinn Matthews, an absolute stud prospect. Looks like, this is a kid who threw a 156-pitch game once in his college career. And then he just gave us the 200-plus strikeout season in the minors. So, and Tink Hence is another pitching prospect. We'll see what happens with him. They have a few guys. Cooper Hirpe. They have a few guys that could make a difference this year. The rotation is a big X factor. Again, this is a team that could be fringe playoffs if all goes well. But if these guys don't take steps forward, it's also very easy to see a path where the Cardinals sell off their veterans. Arenado's on the move. Gray's on the move. Michael, it can fall apart pretty fast. And, you really got to hope for their sake, if you're a fan of the Cardinals, that some of these young players come through sooner rather than later. Doc Eisenhauer out.
Okay, so I'm not convinced that the Cardinals are going to be playoff bound or even considered for it. But I do think, as of right now, he made enough of an argument to make me feel like they shouldn't be in last. I'm still sticking with Pirates being last. So we'll see what happens after we get a Pirates review. But I mean, the Cardinals have pieces. They've got young guys that are unproven, and if those young guys come through, St. Louis has always been able to. I mean, it's been a baseball factory for a very, very long time, right? Mm-hmm. So counting out the Cardinals is usually not a good thing. But everything that I see on the outside points to a seller, right?
Yeah,
they're going to hopefully get as much as they can out of Arenado and Gray. And then we'll be like, deuces, give us the best prospects we can get, and we're going to rebuild. And they're going to be a team to worry about at some point. Not this year. There's just not enough there. Wynn, I think, could be a really good baseball player. Contreras, moving just to first. Like, these are all good things. These are the right trends. There's just not enough there for me to go, man, the Cardinals are something to worry about. I do think the Central is wide open, but I don't know. There's not enough for me to be like, yeah, they'll be in the. I mean, maybe they give the Reds more of a trouble than I think they will initially, but not much has changed on my side.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He was able to give a more positive spin on some of these guys, whereas. Without his spin that he provided, I would have even more so wrote them off of like, okay, yeah, like Mason Wynn could be good. Like, yeah, he very well could be. And he could, I think they're a year or two away from having something with all of these young guys.
I agree.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's not to say Mason Wynn isn't good because he is. And that's not to say he isn't good right now because he is. However, for him and, Alec Burleson and Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman is still kind of figuring it out. Mm-hmm. We don't even know if he's going to stick there at all. But, Jordan Walker, once a top prospect in Major League Baseball, maybe he might have even been number one at some point.
I think so.
He's still not what we thought we were getting.
Yep.
So how long does he get to figure it out? Because he's had a year and a half. Roughly
about that,
right, half a year. Last year, been up and down. So maybe it just clicks, and he's that guy, and that expedites their process. So they have it, and they have Arenado and Wilson Contreras, both on the older side. Arenado pushed 34, Contreras being 33, like about to be 33. Excuse me. So they have a weird mix there. Brendan Donovan kind of plays everywhere, which is fine, but at the same time. I can package all of those people into being trade candidates.
Yep.
I could still keep Wynn. Let's say I'm still going to give Walker a chance. I have Herrera at catcher. Burleson I keep. Gorman I keep. Great. There's my team. There's my backbone.
Yep.
Now I get rid of Arenado. I could look to move Contreras. I could find a first baseman somewhere.
Yep.
New Bar. Sure. Great. Somebody else can have them. Deal with them. Right. Like, and going down the line, like we didn't even get to their pitching yet. I mean, their pitcher is Sonny Gray.
Pitcher. Yeah, exactly.
From there, Miles Mikolas, sure. Eric Fetty had a good year last year. He did get traded.
He got traded. Yeah.
To them.
Because he was with the White Sox. Yeah.
Like, needless to say, they finished where they finished last year, and I'm looking at the the plus and the adds and subtractions from the team. Cardinals, notable acquisitions, none. They added nobody. They've done nothing at a major league level.
That's not helpful at all.
Correct. So let's run it back with what? Yeah. Like with the expectation that these guys who weren't good enough last year are just
it out.
better. Yeah. And again, there are those guys that can improve a little bit, but does that take you from whatever the hell they were last year how the fuck they won 83 games last year is beyond me. Yeah, see?
Okay.
I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
To boost them from there, and clearly I have them. I think the rest of the division is getting better. So I'm not saying like, oh, they're going to only win 70 games. I'm not saying that. I just think the rest of the division got better. They didn't, and by a certain point, Ryan Helsley, another trade candidate, great closer. He should have got traded last year.
Yep.
I don't know their strategy. It doesn't seem they have much of a direction. Right. One day they're
sitting tight is never a good strategy.
One day they're trading Arenado. The other day they're not.
Yeah.
Do they have a money problem? Do they not? I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. They have a few players that like you want to root for. I guess like I think Burleson could be good, but like if he's your best hitter, we've got an issue.
Yeah.
And the issue is you're about to finish last in
Yeah,
the NL
you're about to
Central,
finish last.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I that's all I've really got. Right, I'm not digging into the full bullpen there, but like, their starters: Gray, Mikolas, Fetty, Steven Matz. Steven Matz fucking stinks.
Yeah.
And you'll never convince me otherwise. So again, are these young guys going to come up and be great? Quinn, you talked about Quinn Matthews. Again, I know he knows a ton about prospects and stuff. Does Quinn Matthews come up? JJ Weatherholt, he's supposed to be the real deal. Cool. 2 years away.
Yeah. I do think that this is I don't think they have quite the encouraging future like the Nats do, but they're in the same vein. They have more older guys they have to get rid of first.
They just haven't figured it out that they're rebuilding yet.
I do. It's weird. They just haven't done a lot, and we don't do anything. That's just a bad strategy.
Here's a question. I know this isn't the NL East, but how much different would you feel about the Nats if they had Sonny Gray, Ryan Helsley, and Nolan Arenado?
Oh, that would suck. Yeah. They'd be a better team.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Great point. Great. They'd be a much better team. Great point. Yeah.
That's where it's torn. Like Sonny Gray is a great pitcher. Anybody wants to have him.
Those
Screw
is a
the
great
age. He's
closer,
defied the age thing up to this point.
Yep.
And to Chris Sale, everybody's going to break. He's going to fall apart eventually. And if you're the Cardinals, go get something for him before he falls apart and you can't get shit. So, big picture, I don't think they're there, but surprise, unbeknownst to either of us, they won 83 games. How the hell they managed to do that, I don't know. Because at the same token, when I say notable acquisitions, none, all they lost was Paul Goldschmidt and Andrew Kittredge. So they didn't really
talk about sitting still.
Right,
Yeah,
they didn't really suffer much of any loss. So we're really just saying these guys aren't overperformed somehow last year, and they're going to get worse. So now I feel weird about how I just picked them to drop from 83 to even say 76, which is what the Pirates won last year. I'm not. Now I'm torn.
I mean, I think they could, because they didn't add anything or lose anything. It's within reason to think they'll be between 78 and 82 again.
I guess.
And if the Pirates did get better, they can move up from 76.
Maybe just the floor of that entire division moves up. So maybe it. I don't know. Okay. We'll let's see what everybody else. I'm still interested. I'm still not sold.
I'm still wavering.
But you get where I'm coming from, where they didn't do anything and they still won 83. Can all those young guys can't get worse?
No, they can't. But the old guys can.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it. Let's talk Cardinals.
Yeah.
Who we got next? Where are we at?
Cubs are up next.
CU. This is the Cubs. So this is my future brother-in-law, Billy. So he's at Billy Moline, Moline, on Instagram.
Hit it.
My name is Billy, and I am here again to talk about the Chicago Cubs. I have a lot to be excited for as Cubs fans this year. Kyle Tucker, pretty much replacing Bellinger, should be replacing him and some. Imanaga, hopefully having another great year, picking up where he left off last year. Carry that into year two, even though people do have a better look at him now. He has looked pretty decent in spring training so far as well. Hopefully in Presley, we have a closer that we were looking for all last year. It was brutal losing so many games with our bullpen and just pitching last year. PCA looking for him to win his first Gold Glove this year. Hopefully Ian Happ can be in there again, and as well as Horner, maybe Dansby. Matt Shaw coming up at third base, hopefully taking that role over. Get someone in the lineup that'll be at third base more often than not instead of rotating guys over there. Hopefully Horner can come back healthy after that offseason surgery and stay healthy throughout the year. Really expecting us to win the NL Central and be one of the better teams in the NL this year. Hopefully get a good playoff berth. Great start spring training so far. Kyle Tucker kind of replacing Suzuki over there in right field. Getting a lot more playing time than him, but Suzuki take over at that DH spot will be really helpful as well with the power that he has behind him. Really kind of happy that we didn't get Bregman. I feel like we would have given up too much money for what he was worth. I'm fine with Turner coming in and being an older guy, being a locker room guy, and just helping where he can. Expecting to have a winning season this year, win the NL Central, and go Cubs.
Hit it.
All right, Billy, thank you very much. We had Billy Moline on the Cubs there. I think he hit the nail right on the head. There's now expectations. They went and got a star, top player in one of the top players in baseball, and Kyle Tucker made that big deal. They got a closer in Ryan Presley. They could do some shifting around of the lineup. They bolstered the rotation a little bit. Matthew Boyd, it isn't a flashy signing, but one of those signings that helps your rotation in general. Eli Morgan from the Guardians. Any reliever or any pitcher coming from the Guardians, I'm a fan
sign.
of. So let's take it. What else? Again, their issue was bullpen a lot last year. They brought Justin Turner in on a 1-year deal too. That was way scatterbrained. Sorry about that. I was supposed to say Ryan Brazier came from the Dodgers.
Yes.
As a reliever as well. Again, Justin Turner being a completely different player. He's not in the bullpen, but they've got the makings of a solid team. You look at the lineup, and it's not a who the hell is that? It is an everyday Major League Baseball player at most every position that they've got. The question mark is at third base of Matt Shaw, who is a highly touted prospect. So if he does pan out, then they are in very good shape. But running down just a quick looking lineup in no order, but Dansby, Ian Happ, Major League Baseball players, serviceable.
100%.
Nico Horner, a little banged up, might miss a little bit of time, but Major League Baseball player, runs bases pretty well. Pete Crow Armstrong, turning into a pretty solid player. He couldn't really hit last year, has had a decent spring. Again, we don't put any credo into what goes on in the spring.
But I'm going to bring it up every time.
I still talk about it, but we don't care about it. But he's had a decent spring thus far. Maybe I lied. No, yeah. 1.587 OPS. Told you he's had a good spring.
Good spring.
That's something to talk. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. So give me that. Give me that Pete Crow Armstrong with the already, super good speed, good defensive ability. Suzuki, we were talking about this off air. I did not know Seiya Suzuki had an 848 OPS last year.
Good year.
And now he just, from my understanding, is just going to DH, which is a nice bonus. Where do we want to go? Pitching. They've got a
Imanaga and Steele at the top. That's a good 1-2 punch.
That's pretty solid.
That's a good 1-2 punch.
Jameson Taillon is maybe one of the most underrated pitchers. I will toot his horn all the time because I think he is just a more than serviceable pitcher. 2.2 WAR last year, 3.27 ERA. Not a big strikeout guy. 165 innings, 125 strikeouts. I'll take 165 innings for my 3-starter all day.
1,000%. 1,000%.
And then Matthew Boyd adding. They signed Colin Rea too, so that wraps up their rotation. Is it the best in the world? No, but it's pretty damn serviceable. That'll get you through a season. I think they have a good team. They shored up the bullpen a little bit. Again, very sporadic in terms of what you get year to year.
Yep.
If they get normal Ryan Presley, Brazier, this Porter Hodge kid's supposed to be decent. It was almost going to be the closer prior to Presley.
Could be a good setup guy for sure.
Yeah, I think they're in a decent spot. Does it give them enough to propel? I don't know. I don't know what to think if I want to move them up my ladder any, because I guess you don't know what they're going to perform like with Kyle Tucker in their lineup in a better Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah. So for me, I think this solidifies my Cubs winning the division, because if I go position by position, I'm going to, like with the Brewers, right? I'm going to pick the Cubs 90% of the time, right? Maybe, obviously third base, but third base is a question mark for everyone. But that outfield with Tucker, Happ, and PCA, that's a damn good outfield. The infield, with as long as Nico comes back, him and Dansby up middle is good. I think first base and third base are their weak points where the Brewers might have edges. Obviously, Churio's he's an outfielder, right? Yeah. So you'll probably lose one of those too. But starter for starter, I think. Pavelta's good, but Imanaga had like debatably Cy Young type numbers for a long time.
Yes.
And I think Justin Steele is a really good pitcher too. And the Brewers need someone to come back from being injured, before they got that number 2. So I think the Cubs, position by position, are going to be better. They have their closer with Presley. So I'm gonna say this is pushed me more into the Cubs winning the division because just going down that lineup, that's the way I would go.
And I know you didn't say this, but this is for all the Cody Bellinger stands that want to say, and I like Cody Bellinger. Let's
He's
not
good.
get it twisted. In 130 games, he had a 2.2 WAR last year. Just using last year.
Yeah.
Last year, Kyle Tucker played 78 games and had 4.7 WAR.
Holy
to
cow.
take,
Wow.
he was very, he had 23 home runs in those 70. He was on fire. But even before then, 5.7, 5.4, 5.4 for Tucker to Bellinger's 1.4, 4.4, and 2.2. So to Billy's point, you're getting Bellinger and then some.
Yeah.
In probably even better metrics at the plate, maybe Bellinger's a tad better defensively. I don't know Kyle Tucker's defensive metrics because he played more right field. Bellinger did a lot of center, and I think that was.
I think Bellinger is a better fielder, but from the plate side, I think it's not even close. To be honest with you, Tucker is one of the most under talked about superstars. Like, because he is such a good batter.
He's incredible.
Like, and it's just not talked about enough. And it's because he played on the Astros with all these other all-stars. But he is a silent killer. Like I've said, he is very, very good. To say you got Bellinger and we replaced Bellinger. No, you upgraded from Bellinger.
Kyle Tucker's a huge upgrade there.
Agreed.
He had a 993 OPS last year.
He
got hurt. It wasn't the full season, but let's just say that that was his season. He had a 4.7 WAR. I don't have everything pulled up in front of me of how many guys had that, and this is B WAR also. But man, he's pretty damn good. We don't mince words. Spring training stats, if you want to hear about it.
Oh boy,
he's got a 200 OPS. He doesn't have a hit in 19 at bats. But we don't care about spring training stats. We're not worried about it.
Now they don't matter.
We are not concerned about Kyle Tucker. We are excited about Pete Crow Armstrong's spring and not concerned about Kyle Tucker's spring. Okay? Not concerned. No comment on Kyle Tucker.
Fair enough.
I'm going to wait. We're still not done.
We've still got two teams left.
We've still got more. And my final decision has not been made yet.
Okay. My final decision has not been made, but I like where this is going. So, all right. Pirates and Reds are left. Let's go with the Pirates. Who we have, Chris?
Pirates. We've got Scott Moore and Adam Shorr. I don't know if they planned that, but I love the rhyming there.
Oh, I love that.
Scott Moore and Adam Shorr from Bucco Banter. That's Bucco, Bucco, Bantr, no E. But again, at Bucco Banter with no E. Let's see what they got to say.
Hit it.
Scott, we are back for a Pirates preview on the Coach's Son podcast. We appreciate them having us on to do this little bit of snippet to review the Pirates offseason, let everybody else know what Pittsburgh has been up to real quick. 76 and 86 last year, 2 years in a row with the same record. The offseason, not very eventful. They re-signed Andrew McCutchen. They brought in guys like Tim Meza, Caleb Ferguson, Tanner Rainey, Adam Frazier, Tommy Pham, Andrew Heaney. Nothing huge, Scotty. There wasn't a splash that we were looking for a team that has Paul Skeens, for a team that has Jared Jones and Mitch Keller and so forth, and guys coming through the system that we'll get into in the next couple of minutes. But how do you feel about this offseason for the Pirates, and what are your expectations for this year?
Yeah, I mean, it was underwhelming for sure. We said multiple times on the Bucco Banner podcast that this was going to be the most important offseason of this organization's last decade, probably. Like, it's a very important one. You got one of the best pitching prospects. Now he's no longer a prospect, but one of the best pitchers, I think, of all time. Like, the potential is there to be like very, very special. And the opportunity to build around him doesn't come around every so often, especially for a team like Pittsburgh, a market like Pittsburgh. So they didn't add anyone big. I thought the non-tendering of BDLC would mean that, hey, they're going to go after some bigger name corner outfielder, even like a Tyler O'Neill on a $345 deal. But they didn't, and I'm hoping whatever they are seeing is something that we just aren't. That's my take.
The biggest thing for the Pirates, and people from Pittsburgh know this, is building from within. So internal development, getting guys through the system that are going to contribute, which means you do not have to pay them very much for a long period of time, right? And we forgot Spencer Horwitz. They made the trade for Spencer Horwitz, and the reason it fell to the wayside is because he is injured and he's not going to start the season with the team. So that was their splash move, and it came via trade. But when we talk internal development, you have Mitch Keller, you have Ke'Bryan Hayes, you have Henry Davis, who hasn't really contributed.
O'Neal Cruz, who came via trade, but early enough where he's come through the system. And I would make the same argument for Brian Reynolds, who started in Double-A with the Pirates and then worked his way up in the Andrew McCutchen trade. But there's not many bats that are close enough internally to make this team better. So the hope was that they'll go out and supplement that with a strong bat, somebody that's going to provide power. They just simply didn't do that. Now, when Spencer Horwitz comes back, we think he could be a solid everyday first baseman, but that's a 27-year-old who is unproven, right? There's a lot of good things there, but it's a huge what if. Absolutely. And there's some names that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I think they're banking on big contributions from. As of right now, I don't know if they're going to make the opening day roster, but they acquired these two bats at last year's deadline. They dealt from depth. They got Billy Cook from the Orioles, and Nick York, who's someone I think is going to be special and is going to be a mainstay in Pittsburgh. Had a 800 plus OPS in AAA last year. It might have even been 900 plus. It was a very high OPS for a guy who's been a special prospect in the Red Sox system. So he's a guy I'm really excited to see potentially make a big impact and be a guy that can take this offense to the next level.
Names to look out for: Bubba Chandler. I could almost end the list there. There are a lot of good arms. Thomas Harrington is another one. Braxton Ashcraft. Mike Burrows coming back from Tommy John surgery, had an appearance last year. But Bubba Chandler is a Paul Skeens level prospect. And you will see him this year. You have a fastball that can touch 100 and a changeup that sits at 92. His stuff is absolutely gross. So keep an eye out for Bubba Chandler. That's a good name to invest in. So the pitching staff going into the season has the potential to be top 5 in baseball. It's going to depend on if they can support that staff and score runs.
Absolutely. How about an expected finish for this team, Adam? I think right now I see it. Their floor is 4th and their ceiling is 3rd. So in the middle back end, I think a lot of things have to go wrong for them to exceed the Brewers, Cubs, and even the Reds. I think the Reds have had a much better offseason. I think they're much improved, and they got Terry Francona now.
I see the middle of the pack, and I'm still holding out a little bit of hope because the NL Central did not do much. The Cubs brought in Kyle Tucker. The Cardinals didn't do anything, quite literally. The Reds had a couple of moves here and there. They're moving in the right direction, but nobody in the Central did enough to make me say, hey, the Pirates are the worst team here. So I think middle of the pack, they won 76 games last year. I think they have the potential to win around 82 to 84, but it's just going to have to sit back and wait and see. That's the beauty of baseball, right?
Absolutely, man. Nonetheless, I'm excited for the 2025 season. Love spending the weekends and weeknights even at PNC Park. We're spoiled with the most beautiful ballpark in the country.
Well, we appreciate the Coach's Son podcast allowing us this platform to talk Pirates baseball. Please go check out our channel at Bucco Banter. That's BANTR. You can find us on YouTube at Bucco Banter and on all social medias. We have multiple episodes a week on the Just Baseball Media Network, including lots of player interviews and fan interaction. So again, thanks for having us, and let's go Bucks.
Hit it.
All right. Thank you so much to the boys at Bucco Banter. Okay. So they've given us something to think about here, Chris. I agree that the Pirates pitching is very good. And if this Bubba kid, Bubba, that's his first name, right?
Yep.
If this Bubba kid is even a third of what Skeens is, half. If he's half of what Skeens
Half puts
is,
him at like 3.5 WAR. That's solid.
that's fucking great, right? Like you want that out of the starter. Like that's a 2-3. And I mean, obviously we know what Jones is and we know what Skeens is. Like that's a really good pitching group to throw out there. So that's exciting. So as a Pirates fan, you have to be excited. However, I'm looking at the lineup, their depth chart, and I'm just like, I don't know any of these guys, and I'm not sure how I can be excited about them. Okay. They threw out some names, like, I mean, if Spencer Horwitz is their big pickup, I mean, he's not going to start the season. It's not like he's been great. I mean, he averages in the 700s for OPS. That's just not great, as we've talked about in the past. You want, 800 or higher. I mean, yeah, it's flirting with it, but it's not superstar level. And I mean, okay, obviously, their big name out there is Cruz, right? I mean, he's a stud. He hits the ball a bazillion miles an hour, but he needs help. And I just look up and down this lineup. I mean, they talk a lot about Nick York, who is a young kid. So if he pops, maybe that's going to be helpful. But I mean, if it's just Cruz and Horwitz, like, they're going to have some problems. Is Cabrian Hayes worth it? Is old man Frazier going to be able to provide enough? Like, I just don't think the answer to any of that is yes. There is things to be happy about and to be excited for, but nothing about this team makes me think that they're going to compete for the top of the division. Do I still think they're going to finish bottom? TBD. We got one more. We got one more. I'm TBD. Like, this has been fun because I'm getting a lot of new information.
We're getting new info.
A lot of new information. So anyways, that's my take. Pitching, stud level. There's just so many question marks I have about their batting. Chris, what do you think?
So I think they were still pretty optimistic in general based on how little they did this offseason. And I say that they pointed it out with Skeens and Jared Jones and Mitch Keller as your 1, 2, 3. Your rotation's pretty set. You say what you want about Mitch Keller, but you have a pretty solid setup there, meaning you should be able to be on the attack for some offense, right? Brian Reynolds, solid player. He's your guy. He's your best offensive weapon at this particular point in time.
Yep.
And that's fine. He's a good player. But that drop off can't be that large. So O'Neal Cruz being your second best, but there is a big drop off between Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz in terms of what they're producing. Is O'Neal Cruz potential higher? Yes, it absolutely is. But Brian Reynolds is steady. He's an all-star caliber player. But to your point, it falls off a cliff. Even if you put O'Neal Cruz in the same sentence, which he isn't right now. Cabrian Hayes, a Gold Glove defender, can't really hit as of right now.
Yep.
IKF, actually Gold Glove defender, can't hit for shit. Nick Gonzalez, young infielder, second baseman. Okay.
Yeah, right.
He's fine.
Well, they brought in Frazier
Andrew
for a
McCutchen.
reason. Yeah.
I love Andrew McCutchen. Kudos to him for hanging around, and he's going to DH and get at bats. But if you're a serious franchise and employing Paul Skeens for the next 4 years at the cheapest he could possibly be at, you shouldn't be wasting that time employing Andrew McCutchen, no matter how much of a fan favorite. No matter how much of a fan favorite he is, he should not be cracking your everyday lineup. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think Tommy Pham was their other big acquisition, 37-year-old Tom. That's not going to do it. And you only have, it's all but the writing's on the wall that they're not going to re-sign Skeens. It's already known. Yeah. It's already discussed. It's already said. It's already written that he is not going to be back when this is done. Mm-hmm. So for the next, you can't even figure out how to commit for the next 5 or 6 years. This cheap ass shit, Bob Nutting, whatever the fuck his name is not going to try to spend for at least 5 years to try and get this off the ground. Just looking at the age of these guys, Reynolds 30, O'Neal Cruz 26, great, but he's not the prospect he once was.
Yep.
Cabrian Hayes is 28. I'm done waiting on him.
Yep.
Maybe they want to be more patient. I'm done waiting on him. IKF is 30. Nick Gonzalez is 26. He's been a prospect for 6 years too. Like McCutchen's 38. Pham is 37. Joey Bart, who they got off waivers, is 28. They're not young.
I definitely thought McCutchen was in his 40s, so good for him.
Okay, that's a plus side to them.
Yeah, good
but
for
then,
him.
Skeens and Jones are 22 and 23 respectively.
Babies.
Mitch Keller about to turn 29. And yes, they have Bubba Chandler. And yes, their pitching is there. But what is the pitching without the rest of it.
Yeah.
You can't hit, if you can't score 3-4 runs a game, where the hell are you going? Nowhere. You're going to be Jacob deGrom, but on a way worse team.
Yeah.
So I don't love it. I don't like where this is going, because even the Nationals at some point in time when they had Strasburg, that's the best comparison I have for Skeens right now, minus
fair. Yep.
injuries. Pre-injury Strasburg is Skeens.
Yeah.
You have to go and build this team.
Yeah.
And it's not even like they have, it's like, hey, let's see what we have in these 5 guys that are 23. Then you'd be able
I
to
definitely thought the team was younger than
you'd
they
be
are.
able to
Yeah,
put your
that's
hands up
wild.
and be like, okay, that makes sense. Give them a year, see if they pan out. And if not, now they don't have youth.
Yeah.
They're excited about Nick York. Great. If he pans out, that's one guy.
Yep, he's 22. Yeah, so.
Yeah, about to turn 23. So their bullpen, whatever. Bednar had a really good season 2 years ago. Wasn't as good last year. He might be okay. I think it's hilarious that one of their setup man, his last name is Holderman.
Love that.
So Holderman going to get a ton of holds. Yeah, real corny, but we get it. So in the next 2 years, their rotation is set in house. They don't have to leave. They don't have to leave anything to keep this rotation. And maybe, just maybe, they can put Mitch Keller on a little string out there and try and get some youth bats back. Give me something. Make a move. Show me you're alive. Do something. And maybe there's something I don't know about some of these guys that are there now that I just called old and not very good. But I got a little bit less excited with, after I heard them. Not that they weren't excited. They're still optimistic because their pitching is and did keep them around. They still won 76 games. And I know I am not worried about them doing a thing like the Royals did to me last year, but they're going to go on a run in April like they do every year, and they're going to be like 20-5 in the month of April. And everybody's like, what the hell just happened? And it's like, all right, hold on. Let's see what happens. They're missing 2 stars offensively. Not that anybody's hurt. They just need them. They need to go find stars.
Yep.
And they don't have them. And I don't think they have any offensive firepower coming through the system. Yep. They can they can find pitching. They can develop pitching. They're very good at it. They have been for a while. But we haven't seen a hitter in quite some time. And I'm going to need one.
Yeah, they need one pretty bad. And maybe Reynolds is that shot in the arm that they've been after, but it needs to be more than just one guy.
I mean, he's been there, though.
That's true.
Nothing changed. He's been there for years.
Oh, okay. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, they didn't go out and get him, but he is 3.6 WAR, 791 OPS. He's a very good baseball player.
Yep. Sorry, I got confused. I was thinking it came over from the A's, but he did not. So,
I don't know who you're thinking of, but go ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Brain fart. We've been at this a while, folks.
We're good.
Okay. I'm with you. So. Still not convinced. Still got one more.
I'll have my reveal when we're done.
Okay, yeah, we got one more. It is the Reds. Who we got?
We've got our boy Dan. We talk about him all the time because he's always texting about something. So we're ready to hear what he's got to say. This is Dan Miller. Dan_Miller_7 on Instagram.
Hit it.
What's up? Coach's Sons podcast. This is Reds fan Dan here. I'm going over the Reds preview. We'll start off with the biggest offseason acquisition being Terry Francona. With his expertise and his baseball knowledge, I think he's probably going to add about 5, 6, 7 wins just based off of that alone compared to David Bell. I also love what he said to Ellie. He told him he wants him to be the best player in baseball on the best team in baseball, which if Ellie reaches his potential, I don't see how that is too far of a stretch. He also told reporters that, they're going to show up to the ballpark every day looking to kick somebody's ass. And I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know how anybody wouldn't want to play for Terry. I want to run through a brick wall for him right now, and I'm not even on the team. A couple other notable things. Matt McClain's back from injury after being out all year last year. CES, he'll be back after a very short stint last year after wrist issues. He looks great this spring. Ellie looks great. Gavin Lux looks really good. Another new acquisition outside of Lux is Austin Hayes, and he has looked really well this spring too. We traded Jonathan India for Brady Singer. I'm loving our starting pitching depth this year compared to last year. That's gotten better, and the bullpen's gotten a lot better too with the additions of Barlow and Rogers. Overall, I love the depth on this team compared to last year. And also we got Chase Burns on the way, and Rhett Lauder and Chase Petty. We got a lot of young pitchers that I'm looking forward to seeing here. Hopefully sometime this summer. Give them time to work their way through the minors and, build their repertoire a little bit more. And then once they hit the majors, I really think they're going to take off. But looking forward to the future, and hopefully we have a good season. Thanks.
Hit it.
All right, that's Reds fan Dan. Thank you very much, my friend. So excitement on his end, and he's always excited. He sends me clips all the time of everything that goes on in Reds spring training, any news notes. So fair to say he's ready for the season. I think in terms of acquisitions, they made a decent amount. Nothing life changing, but they made a move to send Jonathan India to the Royals for Brady Singer. So I think that I like India, but I think that was like the most fair trade of all time.
Right.
Like the Reds needed pitching. The Royals needed a second baseman every day. So that worked out. So then they went and got Gavin Lux. Mm-hmm. I think we're airing this before we do the AL East, but we know Gavin Lux was the what we understand to be the worst of the recent minor league players of the year recipients. Yep. But maybe he turns it back on. Maybe he needs, a little bit of a change based on being
scenery.
in LA,
Yep.
being he was a heralded prospect, so we'll see what he's got there. So I like those moves. It kind of puts them on the plus side. They didn't really give much for Gavin Lux. So a few small moves in there. Taylor Rogers, Austin Hayes will help out in the outfield. Their ballpark's pretty hitter friendly. One of the most hitter friendly, if I'm not mistaken, at least home run wise. Going through their lineup, this is another team where you have to assume health for right now. We're going to say that they're healthy.
That's what we're doing.
But Ellie, if Matt McClain is what he's supposed to be, Friedel, Jameer Candelario playing one of the corner infield spots, probably first. Austin Hayes, Tyler Stevenson, a very underrated catcher. Lux, Jake Fraley, Christian Encarnacion Strand or CES.
Yep.
They've got players, and they've got one of the best players in baseball to be the guy to set the tone. And I think the rest of them can kind of hold their weight. Spencer Steers starting on the IL, I think. I don't know how long he's hurt for or even what his injury is. I just know that he might be out for a little while. Their rotation got better. They got Singer, so that helps bolster their rotation. Nick Martinez is wildly underrated.
I agree.
Dan always sends me stuff on him, but he had a 4 WAR last year. He did only start 16 games, but I believe in those starts he was pretty solid, so I think the goal is to make him a starter. Hunter Green should have gotten Cy Young votes. I didn't do a good job of checking that. Let's see where he finished while I'm talking about it. He had 8. He got Cy Young votes. He finished 8th, had a 6.3 WAR. So he's their one, undoubtedly. Singer, Nick Martinez, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo. We're still waiting on him to completely turn it on, have a healthy season. Bullpen, I'm not going to be crazy about it, but Alexis Diaz should be their closer. Pagan, Rogers, Bruce Sutter. They've got guys. Graham Ashcraft's going to start on the IL. And then, as he said, if that rotation doesn't pan out, they've got young guys coming. Chase Burns, high draft pick last year. Rhett Lauder, high draft pick 2 years ago. And I think it was Chase Petty, missing him on this list. They've got guys to come. Yep. And whether or not they're ready today is another story. I don't think they are, but the plan is to start them in the minors. One intriguing player, former Mariner, is Noelvi Marte.
Yes.
He missed some time.
PED stuff, right?
Just a little bit, just a small sprinkle. And he has not been good upon his return.
No, he has not.
So that trade, wow. How good has he been? Negative 1.8 WAR.
Yikes.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that bad. So that was last year in 229 ABs. So for what was once promising is not very much. I don't know if he has the ability to turn that around, but I bet any positive contribution from him would be more than welcomed for this team. And I'm not saying he's the X factor, but it's just a guy to look out for. If he figures it out, that just boosts this floor for this entire team.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait for you to talk and then for our turn again to talk before I give my opinion on this division again.
Yeah.
Because I'm still unsure. I'm not saying I'm waiting for you to say, but I still want some time to wrap my head around it before I just come out and say anything.
That's fair. Look, we said this last year. The Reds have just a bunch of dudes,
Yeah.
right? And Ellie, besides Ellie,
Well,
Ellie is a
is
different
the dude.
He is the dude, and debatably the most fun player to watch right now in the majors. Right? He is electric. He's another Acuna, if not, has potential to be better than Acuna. And I hate saying that. He is a very, very, very good baseball player, and I have high hopes for him. Now, I also agree with Dan, like running through a wall for Terry Francona. That guy is top tier coaching, right? That he knows how to manage teams. He knows how to get the best out of his players.
Yeah.
That alone is a bump. It really is.
I didn't even mention that. I completely forgot the point that he very much brought up of Tito and Tito Francona, with some time off, right? Fresh,
Yep.
ready to go.
Ready
He's
to
not
coach
going to
again.
half-ass anything.
No.
You're right. That's a good call out that I...
Yeah. Look, the Reds have the pieces to be a very good baseball team. They need some things to fall in line, right? I mean, they're pitching, there is depth, but I mean, let's face it, like Brady Singer is not the solution there, right?
Yeah.
They need more help. They need these young guys really need to turn it up. And they might, they very well might. Like if the Reds find, another arm, whether it's, one of these guys peak or someone in the minors comes up and is really good, that's going to be a boost. And if someone else, any of these other guys, like these dudes on the Reds, can step in and take that next step, whether it's McLean, whether it's Lux, and can help, or Hayes, for example, and help protect Ellie and give him the ability to see more pitches and to run more bases, then I think that the Reds very well can challenge the Brewers and the Cubs as the top tier team. I think as a Reds fan, you have to have a lot of excitement about the future. I don't know if it's right now, but I don't think we're going to find out for the first month or two. I think, it's going to take some time before we know what this team is. So they're one of the harder teams for me to predict, if I'm being honest.
I agree, because there's so many by name they have so much potential.
I agree.
And just these guys haven't stayed healthy or whatever, took more time than needed or something. So you're just like my perfect example is Nick Lodolo, right? I like Nick Lodolo. I think he could be very good. But when he came into the league, he was 2022, 19 starts, 2.5 WAR. You're like, holy hell, we get that guy. We're in good shape, right? 131 strikeouts in 103 innings. You're like, perfect. Well, then in 2023, he got hurt. He only threw 7 starts. Last year, he pitched 21, so probably him coming back. 115 innings, 122 strikeouts, but not like a 4.7 ERA.
Yeah.
So okay, but not what we expect him to be. He should be the 2 right behind Hunter Green, right? Hunter Green's their ace Cy Young type
Not
guy.
even close, yeah.
He's their guy. But these other individuals that they're waiting on kind of need, like Lodolo needs to make that step pitching wise.
Yeah, and here's the deal. The Reds have enough dudes that they have 3 or 4 guys that could take that step. Will any of them do it? I don't know. But they have a lot of opportunity for it to happen, but there's, it's got to be a pretty big step, whoever it is that takes it. So, I like the Reds. I want the Reds to be good. There's just, the big red machine, like what we grew up hearing about, I want the Reds to be a good baseball team. I think baseball is better for it. I don't know if this is their year, but it is a interesting team that I'm going to try to watch as much as I can. So,
Okay.
all right. Chris, we have now made it through.
We have.
We've gotten out of our echo chamber. We've listened to other opinions. So let's see. Have you moved on your top team?
No, Milwaukee Brewers still win the division.
Okay, Brewers are still top.
How about you?
No, Cubs are still the top team.
Okay.
Yep, I'm still there. I'm
Staying there.
Still staying there. I think the Cubs,
What
again,
about-
position by position, have the best.
Do you want to go
best
down or do
roster.
you want to name the last team?
Let's
first?
go down. Let's go
Okay.
down. Yeah. I'm going to say Brewers too.
I'm going to go Cubs too, so flip-flop there.
Okay.
I think we're in unison.
Reds.
Yeah,
Reds
Pirates,
3. Yep.
Cards.
Yep. Yeah.
Cards last.
I say Cards last
Okay.
now. Yeah.
So you have Cubs first, I have Brewers first, and then we just flip-flop 1 and 2, and then our consensus, our agreed upon 3, 4, 5 is Reds, Pirates, Cards.
Yeah, after listening to everything, I mean, I still think the Pirates they're missing a lot.
Yes.
But the fact that they have such strong pitching and they do have
full season of Skeens, full season of Jones, because
exactly
he got shut down at
And
the end of the year.
Sounds like they've got a lot of young guys coming up. I'm more excited about the Pirates. There's nothing about the Cardinals that I like at all right now. Like there's not. They've got Arno.
I am
Gray.
excited for that Weatherholt kid, but
Yeah, but
I hear you. I'm just
like they didn't make any moves. Like
no,
nothing.
I'm done with them.
And
It doesn't hurt me
the
to
fact
put
that they
them
won
last.
83 games was a surprise to both of us. So
It makes me sad to put the Pirates last. To be like, you have Paul Skeens and you didn't.
Yeah.
They might finish last. They very well could.
It's still a possibility.
It's not. It's a non-zero chance, right?
Yeah. I agree. There's just nothing that I'm excited about with the Cardinals, so I'm going to put them last. So yeah, I'm with you there.
So all right, Brewers first, Cubs.
All right,
we'll see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Again, we're going to put the tags of all these people in the show notes. Please go give them a like and a follow. They're doing us a really big favor by volunteering their time and their opinions. And just give them a follow. Tell them that you loved what they said and that we are idiots and don't know what we're talking about. But anyways, that was a lot of fun. We will see you next time. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the Coach's Sons Podcast.